Seriously, only watch or listen to this podcast if you've seen the movie Hereditary. This is your warning. Stop right now. Watch Hereditary, then come back to this. Don't watch this if you haven't seen Hereditary. Hereditary, bro.
Alright, yeah. So, okay, quick disclaimer. I had just saw Hereditary for the first time.
And I saw it twice. I saw it once without Kyle, and then my second time I saw it with Kyle just now. So, dude, did you love it?
I was a huge fan of the movie. I'll say I loved it, yeah, definitely. Dude. Very original way of putting together a horror movie. Pretty classic themes, but you don't know what's going on. You have no idea what's happening. So many things will throw you in different directions. Great acting. Honestly, the acting was phenomenal.
Exactly. Annie, the mom,
oh my god.
She was, I always felt like at points when she's, explaining to her husband what's going on, I feel like that's how an actual possessed person would try to explain it.
Yeah, she was amazing. Her name was Annie then?
Annie, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say Annie was... Give her, an award or something.
Yeah,
because,
dude.
She was amazing.
Dude,
and the son, too, Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's all good.
There's a scene where she's talking to the son about her not actually loving him and ends up being a dream. But that scene, the acting and the, writing is absolutely amazing, honestly.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, they both sold it. I will say the son's acting was key. It was really clutch every time until he had to act like he was crying. His crying was a little weird.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Because when James was just about to say that, I was thinking, what do you mean? He was really good in all the talking scenes. He was a pretty good actor. I thought he was really good.
He sold
almost
it.
Second in command to the mom, but he's completely right. His crying did not work.
The way I justify his weird crying, though, is, in the moments that he's crying, some crazy shit's going on. He's seeing some, paranormal shit, so I don't know. Maybe it's, a weird panic cry. That's all I can say. That's how I justify it.
And I also say, too, is, I didn't have as much of an issue with his crying when he, was acting out the crying. I had some issues, because sometimes I just felt like I couldn't see the tears that he was trying to cry. I think that his face, they weren't there, the tears. You know?
Yeah.
That was what I had an issue with.
I feel you. All right, dude. So I'm gonna say I loved this fucking movie. After when I walked out of it the first time, I was like, yes, they hit me right in that fucking spot that I wanted, but I was super confused. But now, after seeing it a second time, and reading a little bit online, and then seeing it a second time, I definitely pieced together some crazy shit I didn't notice the first time.
And I honestly need you to help piece together some of that for me, because I have nothing pieced together. And damn, that fucking ending, man.
Dude,
that ending.
How wild. Dude, so, first of all, I gotta say, did you ever see Paranormal Activity 3?
No, and I'm just going to be straight up. I have sort of a stigma for Paranormal Activity or The Exorcism of blah blah blah, etc., because just in my opinion, I feel like those movies are being butchered and completely just thrown out like Madden video games.
Okay.
So I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe I should give it a chance, but
the weird thing with Paranormal Activity 3 that I noticed with this movie, there's there's a very weird parallel between the two movies, where the weird twist at the end is that the grandma was in a cult the whole time, and like everything was getting ready for some kind of weird ass ritual. Like that was the twist in Paranormal Activity 3. All of a sudden at the end, there's these naked people in the house, and the main characters are like, "What the fuck is going on?" And that's kind of what happened at the end. That's exactly what happened at the end of this movie.
Sweet. That happened in Paranormal Activity. There were naked people in the house.
Yeah, it's shockingly similar, but I will say Paranormal Activity 3 was much worse of a movie. It was a cool twist, but it doesn't lessen the shock of the end of this movie.
Yeah, definitely not. You don't really know what's happening until it gets there. But I will say, though, the fact that Paranormal Activity 3 did do this kind of hurts me.
Well,
Because
dude, like,
I'm going to be straight up. There's two reasons why. One is, I'm not going to lie, that kind of makes me think a little less of Hereditary because someone else already did it.
But dude, I got like, you haven't seen Paranormal Activity 3?
No.
All right, well then you shouldn't have this reaction because like I've seen both movies and like it didn't. It's just a weird coincidence. That's honestly how it feels. It's not like Hereditary ripped it off. It's just like a similar twist, but like way fucking better.
Okay.
Like,
because yeah, I will say too, like the cinematography in this movie was amazing. Like the way the camera scenes, the way the camera moved throughout the scenes, it was
oh
perfect.
my god, just how slow the camera crept around, the way it zoomed in on the miniatures, and then zoomed out, and like it was the real thing. Like I gotta say, sometimes when they showed like a bird's eye view of like the house with the tree house and everything, I think they were using miniatures and they were just trying to fuck with you.
They could have been.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was like so lost and confused that I thought that one of the big twists was going to be that somehow they were secretly characters in a dollhouse.
Dude, like it kind of sets you up for that because like you're the whole time you're like, what is going on here? And then you're like, these miniatures are so weird. It's got to have something to do with it.
I kept on trying to tie that together. And there's nothing there to tie.
No, it's just like one of those weird misdirection things.
Yeah, and then also the way they actually shot a lot of the scenes made it seem like you were looking into an actual dollhouse.
Exactly, like the angles, the perfect squares, the views down the hallway, the way they showed the rooms, everything was just like, oh, this is how they showed you his bedroom in the first scene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So honestly, I think it's kind of time to delve into more of the serious discussion about the movie, about some theories, and about what's happening, because I still feel very lost. I need James to help me out here.
So like, what are you confused on? Because dude, literally, like I said, like I'm clear. I was confused and I kind of pieced it together after reading things, after seeing it the first time. But then reading those things and then watching it a second time has really like wow, there's a serious plot the whole time.
So there's one thing, I don't even know if you can answer this one, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. What's up with the?
Okay, so that's just that's really that has no real significance other than it's a distinguishing trait of Charlie.
Okay. That's something that I wanted to figure out. I wanted to figure out if that was something deep. Okay, another thing.
Dude, the movie, the commercials do such a good job of showing you this girl going like, and like dazing into like the oblivion. Like you really think it's about this fucked up, possessed like girl.
Yeah,
like,
not about the girl at all.
No.
Oh, which by the way, if we're gonna go off into this tangent, girl gets fucking decapitated by a post.
Dude, oh my god, when that happened, it's only like 15 minutes into the movie. Oh my god,
guys,
was my fancy tickled.
The fancy was tickled. They kill off who you think is going to be the main character 15 minutes in.
Oh my god.
15 minutes in, the most distinguished character in the movie, who you think is going to end up being possessed, or like, et cetera, you know?
The trailer's making you think she's this fucked up exorcist girl who does all these crazy things.
I thought the twist was like, you know, she was going to be like, she ended up being like 50 years old instead of 12, like, you know, like, was that like the Omen or whatever? No, it wasn't like that.
Boom! Dude, 15 minutes in, knock her fucking head off. Just like...
Decapitated.
Dude,
just do it one more time.
Dude, so did you notice that the telephone pole that knocks her head off, they show you the telephone pole on the way to the party, and they zoom in on the telephone pole, and it's got the weird symbol, the symbol that wears the grandma on grandma's necklace.
Oh my god, yeah.
Dude, you thought the jump scare was coming the whole time. I felt like you were missing things because you were like waiting for the jump scare.
That's it. Here, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I love scary movies. But I'm also going to say the embarrassing thing. I'm scared shitless of scary movies.
I was scared shitless too the first time because...
I put my fingers in front of my eyes just so I can see through, so I can see what's going on. But it blurs the vision a little bit, so like if a jump scare does happen, I don't get really scared.
No, and so
it's a great
understandable.
defense mechanism.
so understandable for this movie. Like, that is one of the most genius traits of this movie. The fact that they bait you with the jump scare.
It's misdirection.
The
It's
entire
beautiful.
fucking movie is a misdirection. You think the jump scare is around every corner. There's not one. There's not a single jump scare.
Okay.
And that's like why it's such a disturbing movie.
All right, so now,
Yeah, what are your questions?
okay, so here we go. The cult sign is on the post.
Yeah.
Now, was that left by Joni?
Well, that's up for debate.
Okay.
But like,
Either way, it was there. Okay.
yes, it was definitely put up there by someone in the cult that the grandma was a part of, for sure.
Now, it's hard to tell because I don't know what force was driving that situation to happen because it's a cult, but at the same time, it is a supernatural cult.
Well, see, dude, this is what I've pieced together. Like, there are definitely supernatural things going on in this movie. Like, nobody in the cult made him drive into the pole. I think
That's the question.
there was just a spell, and like they had done a lot of very predetermined things. Like, they did very specific things in order for like this to happen.
See, but that's the thing that confuses me, and I'd like to know more about is like, did it have to do with their planning? Like, did they know that they were going to the party? Like, did they know that the hospital was that way? Did they know that they would have to leave that dead carcass there for him to veer off the road? Like, that stuff is very interesting. I don't think that it was planned necessarily. I think that there was a driving supernatural force that caused the incident.
No, I completely agree.
Okay.
I
okay.
completely agree.
All right, okay.
But the fact that
They have a connection with the supernatural force, though.
yeah, like they are planning things that is causing this supernatural force to work a certain way.
Exactly. Okay, I completely agree with that.
Like the fact that
Like,
they had
it wasn't a man-made contraption to make it happen. It was man worshipping a supernatural force that made this situation happen.
all the members of the cult were participating in this huge spell/ritual. They were doing specific things to make specific supernatural things happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I completely agree.
Because,
So it's
like-
like they made that the destiny of the situation. They made
Right,
that happen.
like the fact that they carved, the symbol, which is the symbol of Pyman, what they were calling him at the end. That's like that specific demon's symbol. The fact that symbol was on the post, like, they just put a spell on the post. They didn't know how, but they knew that
Yeah.
post was gonna knock her head off.
Exactly. They're worshippers.
Yeah.
They trust the supernatural being, and he will deliver.
Yeah, and like they have done, like, all right. So when I say that they have all been doing specific things, like, how they were talking about how earlier in the movie they mentioned how, Annie, the mom, the main character's brother, killed himself when he was 15, and because he was claiming that the mother was trying to put demons in him or something like that.
And she was.
She was. So like,
Wow, you know what? They gave you the answer 5 minutes into the movie.
bro, they really do. Like, talking about giving you the answer, right after the funeral scene, she goes up into the attic and reads, like, that weird note from her mom in the weird book.
Oh,
The
yeah.
note literally says, "Listen, I'm so sorry that you're going to have to go through these sacrifices, but in the end, you'll see it was all worth it." And, like, she looks at it and she's like, what the fuck? She's crazy. But, dude, she's literally saying, "Yo, I'm sorry I did this crazy satanic ritual that's going to get everybody in the family killed. But, like, listen, it's going to bring back this crazy devil, and we worship him, so, like, it's all good." Like, literally, that's what she was saying.
It was. And, like, in the beginning, I was trying to tie that all together to the ending, but they go through so many, like, misdirections through the movie that, like, it messes with your brain. Like, they gave you the answer 5 minutes in, and I still didn't catch on to it.
Yeah, dude. Like, dude, speaking about giving you the answer early, like, right after, another scene, right after the initial funeral scene, like, the first funeral scene, Annie goes up to Charlie's room, and she's, like, in her bed, and she's like, Grandma, you were always Grandma's favorite. And immediately she says she wishes I was a boy. She told me she wished I was a boy.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
She wished she was a boy because it's
For
part of the
Pyman.
fucking ritual to bring Pyman back to Earth. Like, how crazy is that?
And that's funny, though. Like, that's an amazing thing because if you saw that the first time, you would never know what that's about. And
No
there's,
chance.
and there's no reason why you should.
Right.
But at the end, when they reveal that the woman's body was too weak for Pyman, which honestly, I don't know if that's some sexism type shit.
Nah,
out there. Sorry
we're
about
talking
that,
about
guys.
Satan.
But,
You know,
he's
he's a sexist dude. He's Satan, bro.
Yeah, that's true. He's a sexist guy.
All right, one of the 8 kings of hell.
Pyman the Satan, or whatever the guy his name is. Anyway, he needs a man's body. Then the grandma was like, I wish you were a guy. But wait a minute. Oh, I already answered my question. I was going to ask why she didn't focus on the firstborn son, because he was actually a son. But the reason why is because the mom didn't let the grandma even see the son for a long time.
Right. And then she says, like, but once I had my daughter, that all changed, and I let her sink her hooks right into her right away.
Almost word for word, yeah.
Yeah, and do you remember that weird scene where Annie is in her miniature sculpture room, and she turns around this sculpture she doesn't want to look at, and it's a sculpture of her breastfeeding Charlie as a baby,
yeah,
and the grandmother coming over with her tit out, trying to, like, offer the tit to, like, breastfeed the baby.
I didn't notice the tit part, but I did notice her standing there. Was she, like, in white? Like,
she's in a white gown,
yeah,
a white, like, nightgown, and her tit is out, and it's like she's offering the tit to the baby as, like,
interesting.
As Annie is, like, trying to breastfeed her as a baby, you know? So it's like, that's got to be, you know, part of, like, this strategical ritual that has been going on for years. Like, it seems like, you know, somehow she knew when Charlie was born that Charlie was the perfect specimen to, like, be Pyman. So, like, that's when it all started. I just feel like that her offering her breast milk to her as a baby has something to do with, like, the grand picture of eventually putting her into a male body and turning her into Pyman.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I could definitely see that happening. What was up with them needing to take... I guess maybe it's just a ritual, but what was up with them needing to take out the dead bodies of everyone who had died and make... Why was Charlie's head on top of a golden statue while the dead bodies who had died throughout the movie were, like, praying to it?
Okay, so it is all just part of, you know, this ritual to bring Pyman, like, to bring Pyman to Earth, into a human body. Because she, at one point, when she's finally, like, going through all the books deeply and she sees a picture of Joan and she realizes that Joan is her mom's friend from the past and is somehow involved with this crazy shit, she also is reading something about bringing Pyman back, and it's showing you this man on a horse, and he's holding 3 heads. Mm-hmm. So obviously, I'm sure if you stop and, like, read the paragraph, it explains something, but, like, me putting pieces together, that's just like a sketch of somebody performing this ritual, like collecting 3 of these heads of women of the same family or the same bloodline or something. Maybe that is part of this grand scheme of bringing Pyman. And, like, they also show, right as you see that picture of this guy holding the 3 heads, you also see a picture of this, like, guy with a crown sitting on a bunch of riches and jewels and stuff.
Yeah.
And then later in the attic, you see this picture of the grandmother, like, and she's, like, in a crown and they're throwing coins on her. So I just feel like it all correlates. Like, they were just acting out this plan in the book.
Yeah, like, there was no deeper meaning to it. It was just, like, a ritual.
That's it. It's not deep. It really isn't super deep. It's just a hidden message. Like, these cult people, the grandma was involved with this cult. They all worship Pyman, this devil. And the grandma offered to be one of the main sacrifices and use her family as part of this satanic ritual to bring Pyman back.
I got the impression that, like, the grandma was, like, huge in, like, the group. Like, I had this impression that the grandma was almost the leader of the group.
I completely agree.
Mostly because she was old and it seemed like the younger people followed with her plans after she had died. You know?
Right, like it definitely seems like she held some type of hierarchy role, in the cult.
And it also makes me the grandma wasn't the grandma Pyman throughout the entire movie until she dies, or no?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
the grandma is a worshiper of Pyman, and these worshippers of Pyman are aware of this ritual that they can do in order to summon him. But the ritual calls for very specific details. These details being a daughter and possibly a son and another son that you could transfer a body into, and the removal of the person who starts the ritual in the first place. They have to remove their head, and then like their daughter's head and their granddaughter's head. Like she sacrificed herself for the greater cause of this cult.
Yeah, but what were they talking about when they were saying that the woman's body was too weak, so we needed to get you a male's body? Who was the woman's body?
Charlie. Because Charlie's soul, it seems to me Charlie is Pyman. Since birth, they knew that Charlie was Pyman, but for whatever reason, she's in a girl's body. And it says in the ritual that Pyman needs a male body, so I don't know if that's specific for the ritual, or they just knew that they needed to do another ritual to turn Charlie into a boy in order to create Pyman.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So now, when you start seeing these naked people in the movie, they're not ghosts. Like,
No.
they're actually there.
They're people in the cult. And dude, I think every time throughout the movie where like the first time you see one of these people, remember right in the beginning before the party, he's hitting his bong in his room or something, and he goes out the window and he exhales a cloud of smoke?
Yeah.
If you're paying very close attention, fixed on the front of the screen, that you are seeing that through somebody's perspective. You're seeing the very side of somebody's head, and as he exhales, that person also exhales. So somebody's watching him out the window at that time. Like if you go back, you can see it in the bottom left corner. It's the zoomed up side of somebody's face exhaling as he exhales, and he's completely unaware, and so is the viewer for the most part.
Oh my god, what an interactive experience. That's
Dude.
amazing.
Yeah, and like the first time I think he hears, like I think that, and he looks over at the chair. If you look at the chair, it's just a chair, but then there's this weird like mound that almost looks to me like somebody just really still under a coat or a blanket or something.
I think that that's possible, but I was just getting the impression that he was like paranoid and getting himself all worked up.
Well, I mean,
that's hard to defend from my point of view, because like I feel like why would they put that into the movie like that though, unless it was just trying to be some sort of misdirection?
well, I think it was a bit of
too, I
both,
guess.
because at one point he clearly sees Charlie, and then like you see Charlie too, and you're like, holy shit, like that looks like her in the room, and then her head falls off and it's just a ball on the floor.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so like that is him having visions.
Also, speaking of when like Charlie gets her head decapitated, like Ned Stark. Sorry, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Game of Thrones.
Yeah, don't watch this if you haven't watched season 1 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, for real.
Continue though.
Okay, so basically, you get a pretty disgusting look at that head. You know, like that skull. That like Charlie's head is fucked up.
Like,
when
dude,
you see it.
that is what is so like that is an iconic scene, bro.
Yeah.
Like that is
That'll
the
stick with
defining
you.
moment of this movie. Like that's like you look back at old classic horror movies and you think of Carrie, where like she gets the pig blood poured on her at the high
Yeah.
school dance, and like that's like in your mind, like this poor girl covered in pig's blood.
Or like in The Shining, when like the elevator opens and all the blood comes running
Yes,
out.
like defining moments of horror movies. This is gonna go down in history. Like
Yeah.
one day, like we're gonna tell kids, like, oh, yeah, that's the movie where like the little girl gets her head knocked off by the telephone pole.
Exactly, yeah. And no matter what, if you watch the movie, you leave with that imprinted into your head. You're just like, damn, that skull was fucked up. They show you a pretty vividly, like, disgusting, like, head that's just sitting on the ground.
Dude.
Flies all around it. Like, literally the face, you can see the teeth from the inside. There's blood all over it. It's like
her jaw isn't there. It's just the,
exactly.
It's just the top of her head without the jaw.
They didn't skip a beat with important aspects to the movie. You know, they refined this horror movie, and that's what gets me very excited.
That's a testament to like them like building the jump scare. Like the jump scare, you're always anticipating the jump scare because it feels like it's building, but what's building is the plot of the movie. Like, dude, I'm not kidding. Like every fucking scene of this movie is just deepening the plot. Like literally, like this whole thing is unfolding before you within every scene. Like, dude, alright, so the mother's body was in the attic.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning of the movie, the husband gets a phone call. He's like, "Hey dad, it's the cemetery." And he's like, they're saying to him, "Yo, the grave has been fucking fucked with hard. Like the grave has been robbed." And he's just like, "Oh, it's been nothing." And then right before she discovers her mother's body, they have a scene of him reading an email from the cemetery with pictures of the dug up grave, being like, there's no like further, we haven't found anything else in the vandalization of this grave.
And that hits me pretty hard now looking back on it, because when I first saw the movie, I saw the body there and I was like, oh, you know what? The mom's gone crazy. She put the body there and nobody else knows about it. But you know what? The fucking cult members put it there. And how the hell did they get in the house? Like, honestly, that is fucking intense. That would fuck with your brain. That'll fuck with your brain.
That's what I'm saying, dude. The cult members are like, they are on the perimeter and in the corners of this house throughout the entire movie. The family is under surveillance. Like, dude, this is another scene that proves that. Right in the beginning, where you see Charlie approach her grandmother's body, and at the funeral, and she's viewing her grandmother's body, and she's looking at the necklace, and then she turns around, and there's that guy smiling at her. Remember?
Oh, yeah!
That's one of the cult members!
Oh, my God,
That's one of the cult members who knows, like, okay, the grandma dying, that's the beginning of this crazy ritual.
Holy fuck.
He's, like, hyped, because he's looking at Charlie, and he's like, there's Pyman. He's like, there he is.
That blows my fucking mind. Honestly,
honestly, 2 minutes into the movie,
if I watch this another time, my mind is going to be blown. In the beginning, when I first saw that scene, all I was thinking was, like, that's a creepy old dude.
Yeah, it's like, why are you smiling at this kid?
And what I was thinking was, like, this is going to be irrelevant to the storyline. They're just trying to make it, like, very creepy that, like, a dude is looking at a child that way. I think they're just trying to make a very, very disgusting, weird.
They're just trying to make you feel weird.
Exactly.
Nah,
but no,
dude.
That was planned out. That was a cult member.
This hasn't been planned out, dude. This cult has been, like, for all we know, you know how Joan talks about how she lost her son and her grandson only 7 months ago or some shit? For all we know, they were necessary sacrifices for this whole ritual.
Or they tried it with the children and it didn't work.
Possibly. Very possible. But
oh my God.
I'm leaning more towards the fact that that was also just necessary because it was so recent. Like how had the grandmother's plan not already been set in motion? You know, it could go either way. I don't know for sure, but like maybe they were all trying, but like maybe not because like dude. Oh, the other thing about fucking Patty, or Joan,
Patty hashtag leftovers.
Right. The other reason why I believe that her son and her grandson dying were just part of this whole ritual is because think about how she lures Annie to her house and teaches her the way to do this. Did you also, about another thing about that scene, did you notice as Annie takes her pill and sips the tea, she wipes this weird debris off of her lip? Did you notice that?
Yeah, I noticed that. I also noticed they did that on the dead body of the grandma in the beginning of the movie, and I still haven't connected the dots on that one.
Wait, what did they do to the...
On the grandma's lips, they like rub something on it or off of it.
I don't know what they were rubbing on the grandma at that point. Like
We need some more investigation.
I don't know if it was
on
the
that
same
one,
thing
folks.
as the lip, but like all I'm saying is,
Remember, folks, we're not perfect here. We're just trying.
all I'm saying is, as Annie sips that tea and she wipes that weird debris, like we already know that the grandmother's grave has been destroyed. So I think that's part of the grandmother's head, which is part of an ingredient in this fucked up witch's brew that activates this crazy satanic psychosis within Annie. And it's like just part of the ritual. Because, dude, as she drinks that...
She also took like a piece out, right? Like it was
Right,
like,
right. But, like, as she drinks that, if you look at Joan's face, Joan is like looking at the cup like, yeah, drink that. Like her face is totally like eyes on the cup, like making sure she drinks it. And after she drinks it, she releases and is like relieved that it happened.
This is a very subtle movie.
Yeah,
everyone.
dude. It's fucking Shutter Island,
Yeah,
bro.
honestly, guys, like they don't. You will not have an idea of what's going on throughout this movie. I really don't think you will. And if you do, I think you just got lucky. Don't like get too hyped on yourself. Like you're not that good.
No, dude, that is 100. This is a movie that needs to be seen twice. And when you see it the second time, you're just like, wow. I liked this the first time, but what a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. It's like what they did. The amount of details they invested into the movie, into a horror movie, and that gets me so hyped because horror in general is a genre that's been sort of neglected. Horror is almost like I said earlier, like a Madden, like they come out with like the same thing over and over again.
Yeah,
like,
it's always a house or a little girl.
It's always a jump scare, like
yeah.
Like, oh, watch out, like don't get me wrong, it scares the shit out of me. But is it like true horror? No, because true horror is what gets you. Like it's what gets you like in your mind, like in your heart. Like it's like the cringe. Like
yeah,
it's what you can look at and be like, oh my god, are you serious?
Like this
that
movie
happened?
is just a mind fuck. It's like wow, like you're literally watching the events of a satanic summoning ritual play out. You're watching the events of this thing play out. Like literally, it's a demonstration of this specific ritual. The entire movie, everything is planned, right down to like teaching her how to become a medium. And
it's beautiful. Like being like an objective viewer to the situation. If you're actually no. So, I don't even know how to word it, but like if you're looking at it and the way the movie plays out. You have no idea it's a cult, and you would never know it's a cult, honestly.
Yeah.
Like you always go back to some crazy thoughts, You're like, okay, the mom's crazy. Okay, they're all characters in this like dollhouse. Okay, like there's like some sort of like possessive ghost in the house, like like. But it's the
not
grandma. Exactly a possessive ghost in the house, but like it
has nothing to do with the house or anybody in the house being possessed. The grandma literally summoned this thing. The grandma brought it there. This is just some spirit that exists within the realm of reality and paranormal reality or whatever. And these people worship it, and they paid the ultimate price. They did the ultimate ritual to bring it to life. And it worked. Hail Pyman!
Hail Pyman! They did it.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
Glorious.
like, let's just open up a church for Pyman.
Yeah, the church, dude. I'm sure it exists. Like, dude, I looked it up. Like, that's a real thing. Pyman, there's fucked up people that worship that dude out there.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's just worship Pyman.
Dude, those people out there they are pumped, dude. They're like, shit, it works.
People out there are like, wait a minute, how did these guys know about Pyman? They made a movie about him?
Dude, so glorious. Like, so...
I'm extremely happy.
Yeah, I'm so pumped. Such a good take on horror.
Yeah.
Like goddamn.
And you know what? I feel like we're going to have some good ones coming out soon. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because what was the one that we just saw recently with dude from The Office in it?
Oh, dude, you're talking about A Quiet Place with John Krasinski.
Excellent suspense movie.
Dude, that movie, it was a horror movie, and
it was horror it was just it just made it
Horror,
like a suspense,
thriller,
like yeah, it's
suspenseful.
thriller, yeah.
There's a monster. They're hiding from the monster.
Into a general category, like
and the
Hereditary is more of a horror movie.
Right. All I was going to say is that A Quiet Place does have such a serious impact because of its originality.
Yeah.
Like the way they worked, no speaking into the entire movie is just, it's amazing. It's literally like you take all these aspects of your typical horror movie, like monster that kills everybody that they don't know how to destroy, hiding from the monster. Like that's the entire movie. They're hiding and they can't make noise.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like that's just genius. That's just genius that they made a whole movie out of that.
So I guess if I'm going to refine my comment, I think we're going to be seeing a lot more original suspense horror thriller movies in the future, with just 2 already this year. You know?
Yeah.
It's almost like a revival, I feel like. And I'm hoping that it really does light the flame to keep it going, you know?
I hope so, dude. They just, they just got to attack it with the angle, like, how do we take classic horror roots and just sprinkle a little originality on top of that? How do we do it in a way that's never been done before?
Yeah.
And, like, that's what A Quiet Place and Hereditary both succeeded at wonderfully.
Mm-hmm.
Beautifully.
Mm-hmm. And
Hereditary more so. A Quiet Place is good. It's just a really good gimmick. You're like, wow, that works well. But Hereditary is just like, yeah, fuck me up. Like, leave me scarred in bed at night thinking of this decapitated 13-year-old. Like, God rest her soul. Like, god damn, that's fucked up. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little too, like, my fancy was a little too tickled by this movie. Like, maybe it says something deeper about myself. But
No, it was an amazing movie. Honestly, it was a fucking amazing movie. It really just, it's for the creative people, you know? It's for the people that like to be blown away, you know? I mean,
yeah.
you have to have, like, depth. You have to have, like, personality, you know?
Yeah,
like,
dude,
honestly.
Yeah.
Because, to be honest with you, like, all these Paranormal Activity movies, they're shallow, and they're just looking for money.
Yeah, they're just jump scares.
They're jump scares. They just want money. And that's the issue, is that they're just looking to bring in more money, and they're looking to bring in more people. They're not thinking about the way that they're going to do it. And Hereditary and A Quiet Place thought about the way they're going to do it. And I love it. It's great.
Yeah, they succeeded beautifully. That's what you gotta do. Like, that's what I'm looking for in movies in general. Just like, if I can walk out of a movie just being like, yes, you did it again. Like, you're a genius. You are a genius.
Please define a little bit more about how you reach that feeling of, yes, they did it. Yes, they did it.
No, like I walked out of that movie being like, I walk into the movie being like, okay, I've seen like a bunch of great movies, like and that have made me feel really happy with the outcome of this movie. Can you do that for me again? Highly unlikely. But then they do it.
Yep. Mhm. Like, yo, Ready Player One, trash movie.
Trash movie, dude.
Like, straight garb.
Literally trash.
Garbage. Hot garbage. Trash sandwich.
But yeah, so if you're thinking about making a movie where a girl gets decapitated and that's like going to be the defining scene of your movie, too late, bro. Already happened.
Yeah, like, scratch that script,
Yeah.
throw it into the fire,
Nice
hope
try.
you don't light up on fire, and then just, like, call it a day.
Yeah.
Give up on life.
Yeah, but yo,
But not life, just give up on the script. Like, don't give up on life. Like, life's awesome.
dude, that's another fucking episode of the podcast. Hereditary was a phenomenal movie. I'm giving it a 10, bro. I'll do it. I'll say it. 10.
Yeah, I'll go with, like, a 9.5, just because I don't, like, nothing's perfect. Shout out to Kendama. Everybody, go buy one. They're amazing. Watch the previous podcast about Kendamas.
Yeah, and until then.
I had to level up. Yeah. I had to level up. They talking down on me, and they is under me. I had an epiphany. It turned me into a G. I remember back when it was '09. Obama, everything was fine.